I'm Henry Martinez. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 9 of Daisy Glaze, the podcast. Today is the finale for the first season, and I appreciate everyone who took precious time out of their busy lives to give a listen to my various ramblings. For this first season, I decided to do a bit of a comparative study, distinguishing between the decade of the 1970s when I was a child and our nation today. I must admit, it's been a blast opening up the time capsule in my brain and reliving those formative years of my life. As I stated previously, this season, no decade is perfect, and that was especially true of the 70s. It began while we were still mired in Vietnam, and it ended with a group of American hostages held in Iran. We also had inflation, high gas prices, and yes, even political controversies, the biggest of which resulted in the resignation of a president. But we also had a glorious period in music, movies, television, and culture that is quite frankly unrivaled. In music, we had giants like Led Zeppelin, Stevie Wonder, the Rolling Stones, Fleetwood Mac, Linda Ronstadt, the Eagles, Pink Floyd, the Who, just to name a few, that roamed the earth. And when you have a decade of movies that included The Godfather, Parts 1 and 2, Star Wars, Taxi Driver, Jaws, Chinatown, A Clockwork Orange, Apocalypse Now, Blazing Saddles, and Young Frankenstein, again just to name a few, you know it's among the best decades of all time. And before the explosion of cable, I would argue that the 70s represented the last gasp of TV's golden age that had begun with I Love Lucy in 1951. You had the Mary Tyler Moore Show, All in the Family, Sanford and Son, MASH, Happy Days, The Rockford Files, The Carol Burnett Show, to name a few, that turned out to be timeless classics. And as far as culture, it was the decade of Muhammad Ali's most memorable fights and Elvis Presley's final swan song, a decade that birthed stadium rock, punk, and disco, a decade that saw the Super Bowl overtake the World Series as the must-watch sporting event of the year, and a decade when culture included Studio 54, $6 Million Man lunchboxes, and pet rocks. Yeah, it was quite a decade. Long live the 1970s. So as we conclude Season 1 of Daisy Glaze, the podcast, I'm sure you're wondering when I'll be back and what I'll focus on next time around. Well, stay tuned. I have some ideas percolating, so we'll see where that takes us. Until then, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.